Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at an optic that legitimately gives the Trijicon MRO a run for its money. This is the Holosun HE530 with a titanium housing, so let's check it out. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that intro. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. It only takes a second, but it helps me out greatly, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Holosun HE530G. Now, there are a lot of different Holosuns out there. I've been reviewing Holosuns for about 5 years now, since they had the 403A, the one that had the battery underneath. And Holosuns have really come a long way, and this represents their Elite series. It has a titanium body and a lot of features that actually mimic the Trijicon MRO. We're going to take a closer look at those here in just a second, but this right here is a phenomenal optic. It's definitely an optic that should be on your budget if you have a price range or a budget range up to $500. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this on the table. We're going to move the camera. We're going to take a closer look at it, and we'll talk about the different features and what you get with this, because it does come in a pretty nice case. So we have this nice hard plastic case. Again, kind of, looks very similar to a Trijicon style case. Open it up. You got the nice padding on the top. You got your instruction manual. You do get a tool. You get a lens cleaning cloth. And it comes in this right here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move this camera so I can give you guys a better look. Now, before we get started, I want to let you guys know that this optic was sent to the channel by Optics Planet for me to test out and review for you. If you're interested in links, discount codes, or coupons that are good for pretty much anything at Optics Planet, all you have to do is check out my website. My website will be linked down below. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the tech specs, details, and features of this optic, and why I'm making the direct comparison between this and the Trijicon MRO. So one of the main reasons I'm making the comparison is because, to my knowledge, this is the only Holosun that they have that's like this, that has a smaller ocular lens than it does the objective lens. So we have a 24mm ocular lens that gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the optic goes on, and ends up with a 30mm objective lens. The reason they do that is because it gets rid of any tubular effect that you might get from a standard red dot of this type. So if you're used to like an aim point or other Holosuns that have the same size objective as they do the ocular lens, you know that you can kind of end up with a slight tubular effect if your eye's not directly behind it. This one is a lot more forgiving, and because this lens is so much bigger than the one that you're looking through, it doesn't feel like you're looking through a tube. It gives you a great field of view, and again, it makes it look like you're looking through just one piece of glass, which I think is really nice. Another reason that I'm making the comparison is because the turrets are so very similar. As you can see here, we have a turret that is capless, and it is slightly sunken down into the body of the optic. Again, this is made out of titanium, so we have titanium that's protecting these turrets. It still remains completely waterproof, just like on the MRO. It's actually kind of one of the nicer features, to be honest with you, because a lot of other optics that require some type of turret cap also have an O-ring around the threads of that turret cap, and if the turret cap isn't applying pressure to that O-ring around those threads, it may lose the ability to be waterproof. This right here, I can go ahead and make my adjustments. It's 1/4 MOA click, and I don't have to worry about losing a cap. I don't have to worry about an O-ring or anything like that. this thing is going to stay waterproof and I can make my adjustments all the way through. Plus, it's not sticking up at all. So if it gets banged or bumped against something, it's not really going to matter because it's sunken down in there and it's protected by titanium. So it is very similar to the MRO in those two regards. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about some of the differences between the MRO and the Holosun. And believe it or not, I like the Holosun's features better. So the first thing that's different is you're going to notice that unlike the MRO, there is no big adjustment knob for your brightness settings on top that also contains your battery. The battery is contained on the side in a low profile compartment. So here we have one single CR2032 battery that gives us a battery life up to 5 years. So you're looking at 50,000 hours. One of the reasons that that is achievable is because this has a shake awake feature. So when you, let's say you go out, you use it, you bring it back, you put it straight in the safe and you forgot to turn it off. After a little bit, it's going to turn itself off. And then with just a little bit of movement, so a small shake, you go in there, you grab it again, right? It's going to turn itself back on and it's going to turn on to the previous brightness setting that it was on when you put it in the safe. So I think that's a really nice feature, and I like the fact that the battery cap is on the side. Much less obstructive and much more low profile. On the top, we still have ambidextrous controls. So one of the things that's nice about the MRO is that that knob is controllable by both righties or lefties because it's accessible, you know, right there in the center on the top. This is also ambidextrous right here on the center on the top. Doesn't matter if you're righty or lefty. And this actually allows us to not only control the brightness settings, but it also allows us to control the dual reticles because this has two different reticles, a 65 MOA ring and a 0.5 MOA dot, or just the dot. So you can switch between the two, and there are 12 different brightness settings on this, which are nice, including 2 night vision settings. So you have 10 daytime settings, 2 night vision settings, and they're all controlled by these two knobs, 2 buttons right here, excuse me. So the way that you would change it is if you want to go from the 65 MOA ring to the single dot, all you would do is simply hold down on this minus button for a few seconds, look through the optic, and you're going to see that that 65 MOA ring is going to turn into just a dot. Hold it again, and you'll see the ring come back, and then you can adjust your brightness simply by clicking on those. But it is very low profile. There's nothing to obstruct your view. It's almost the same height as the optic itself. So I like the fact that the battery compartment is on the right side. It's low profile. Again, low profile on top, but still maintain that ambidextrous feature of having everything kind of located centrally. Now, a couple other nice features about this optic. One, it comes with these really nice clear flip-up caps. They're completely fingerprinted right now, but they're clear. So when these things are down, you can still look through it and still be able to use the optic without popping those things up. So if there's a lot of wind, dust, or whatever it is in the environment that you don't want to get on the glass, you can still use this with the caps up or down. And they are completely removable, so if you want to take the caps off, you can always take the caps off and just use it like that as well. This also comes with a pre-installed kill flash. So you can see that we have basically this honeycomb shaped material that's in the center right here. And what that does is it cuts down on the angle of which something might actually hit that lens and then reflect back to whatever you don't want to be seen by. So if you put this in there and let's say the sun is at an angle that's coming in from the side, it's not going to create this big reflection that's then going to point out, in the direction that you're aiming. So it comes with the flip-up caps, it comes with the kill flash. It also comes with a quick disconnect mount. Now, it's not the most robust quick disconnect mount ever, but it works. It's locking, and it actually works pretty well. So we have our locking lever that you would bring over right here. It is completely adjustable. We also have this button right here, so when the lever comes around, it locks into this. And then if you want to unlock it, there is a button right behind it right there that will allow you to simply pop this thing back up. The mount itself is really nice because we have this center bar right here. That's how you would adjust your tension and also indexes with your Picatinny rail. But we also have these 2 other bars to the side right here that give it a much more sturdy footprint. So when you're putting this back up on that pick rail, it's almost guaranteed to re-zero almost perfectly every single time because again, we have these 3 points of contact with the receiver that are going to allow you to get this thing back to where it was before. So instead of just having one single bar, again, they added these pieces here and this thing locks on there really nice and tight. So it's actually a pretty decent mount. Like I said, it's not super huge, it's not big and robust or anything, but again, I put this thing on my Scar 16S. It's not super friendly to optics because it has a large bolt. It's kind of heavy as it goes back and forth, and it can cause some problems. I didn't have any issues with anything coming loose. The mount never came loose. It's very solid, and it still feels really good. This thing's Type 3 hard anodized coated. It's just a great optic altogether. I mean, even the coatings on the lenses are phenomenal. The glass on this thing is extremely clear when you look through it. I remember the first Trijicon MRO that I got years and years ago. It was very, it had basically a lot of tint to it. So when you looked through, you got a lot of tint, and when it would start to get darker outside, that tint would become an issue. When you look through this, it is like completely clear glass, and it looks fantastic. So it's anti-scratch, you know, dust resistant, fingerprint resistant coatings, and it just really does help with the overall clarity of it and the color correction as well. When you look through this, you get a perfectly true color of the target that you're actually looking at. Now, I should also mention that the mount on this thing is going to be an absolute co-witness mount, and that's important to know because if you're going to get a magnifier or something that's going to sit behind it or in front of it, you want to know the height of the optic. So the mount on this is going to be a little bit shorter than a lower 1/3 co-witness mount. So with a lower 1/3 co-witness mount, the sights that you have on there, whether they're affixed and permanently up or you flip them up, the sights are going to end up in the lower 1/3 portion of the glass. Where on this, being a little bit shorter, those sights are going to end up right there, right in the middle of the glass. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you have one of those affixed front sight posts. Just know that you're going to have an absolute co-witness with those, and that's going to end up, again, right in the middle right there. Now, in terms of size and weight, this thing comes in at 6.7 ounces, which is not too bad considering that it's larger than a typical micro red dot. It's definitely not the size of a micro red dot. It's much bigger than that. It is probably somewhere in the ballpark in length of the Aimpoint Comp M5, which, as you know, is a lot longer than a standard T1 or T2. So it comes in at a much bigger size than your standard Holosuns, but still small enough where it's not going to take up much rail space. There's going to be plenty of real estate to put up flip-up sights, magnifiers, things like that, and still have more rail space available. So it does have a small footprint while giving you a bigger, more robust optic with a much larger piece of glass. Now, if you guys watched my video that I did where I talked about the first 3 things that I bought in 2021, one of those was a SCAR 16S, and I said that was going to be a great platform for testing out optics, and so this has primarily been on that the entire time, and I've put a ridiculous amount of ammo through it. Not just for the review, some of it was just for fun because I absolutely love shooting that thing. It is a blast. And so this has been on there, at least this one, for around 600 rounds. Other optics have been on there that I'm testing out as well, but this one right here, probably 600 rounds through the SCAR. It held up really well. It mounts and works perfect with my magnifier. It's very clear. It's very easy to see the target, even when the sun starts to go down, because I did do some night vision testing with this as well, and some flashlight tests and other stuff that I've been doing. And so even as the sun starts to go down, you really just have barely any ambient light. It's so clear that you can still see. And the brightness settings are so easy to adjust with these buttons at top right here. It's easy to really finely tune the optics so that it doesn't just, you know, bloom and over brighten to where you can't see anything else beyond it. So it worked out really well, and this honestly might be my new favorite Holosun. I love the fact that it's made out of titanium. You know it's going to be tough. I love the fact that it comes with the accessories, you know, like the flip-up caps that are clear, not black, so you can still see through them. The kill flash, and the fact that it doesn't have to use turret covers and still maintains its the waterproof ability to, you know, be submerged. All those things put together, this thing's phenomenal. And the fact that it comes in at under 500 bucks just really means that this is something that I think a lot of people could get into without having to break the bank and spending $900 on something else. You know, I think this is definitely a good rival for those people that are looking for an MRO, but maybe don't like the big knob or the way that it looks or some of those other things. This has more features than an MRO. If you ask me, it's probably just as good. It's really hard to say without just completely beating up both of them to see how, you know, how well they hold up to that kind of abuse. But, you know, being somebody who's reviewed MROs and Holosuns for years now, I would say that this is probably what I would choose. I mean, if I had the money in my pocket and I was looking at a Holosun, this Holosun, and I was looking at the MRO, I would grab this off the shelf first. That's my own personal opinion. So remember, if you found this information helpful, if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. You guys have a great day.